True with Guns America, what you are looking at right here is an industry first. It's the InfiRay Outdoors BOLT TX60C. Let's quickly talk about what is so unique about this. This is a thermal rifle scope. It's a 30mm tube, so it uses your standard rifle mounts. It's got, we would call it an adjustable objective on a traditional scope, but this is your actual focus. The 60 in the name is actually an objective of 60, which is new for InfiRay Outdoors. This is the first time they've had that size. And here's the clincher, get ready for this. This is a 1024 by 1024 thermal. So the best in the past has kind of been a 640, that's been the standard. This is 1024 by 1024. The display inside is round. It's a 2560 by 2560 round display, so it's just like looking through a regular rifle scope. The eye relief is phenomenal. It's not touchy at all. It's something you're going to have to see and experience to understand, but this is unique. It's different. It's actually incredibly amazing. So let's talk about a few of the other specs that are pretty insane. The millikelvin, which is the measurement of how sensitive the sensor inside this thermal is what is called net 18, which the lower the number, the better it is. I shot a hog with this the other night at like 2 in the morning-ish. I don't remember exactly now, but I zoomed in to 250 yards and could see detail, heat difference on his face, and that's because of how sensitive the sensor is. So it's a 12 micron, which is sort of the industry standard right now. That's your pixel pitch. So those are your base standards in this, which are incredible specifications. So let me run through. Obviously it has things like color palettes, the full menu. I zeroed this up. It was easy to zero, easy to work with. It's got ballistics, so you can go in and put your G1BC, your velocity, your height over bore, all that. It's sort of information in your velocity, and plug all that into the app. It'll update it. You can get a separate rangefinder. It doesn't come with one, but you can get a rangefinder and put it on here. It Bluetooths to the scope. When you range, it'll give you those ballistics that hold over inside of the reticle. Comes with a bunch of different reticle options, different colors. The other thing that you can do is, and I actually took advantage of this, is you can change the setting and it'll remove all of the information, so all you see is a huge big circle, way more field of view on the top and the bottom. Now I should point out, when you record, which this will take photos and it will record, when you do that, it's going to show up as square. It's not going to show up as round the way you see it in the eyepiece. But it is insane. What you're seeing through this looks better than what you see recorded. A couple things I want to tell you about. My camera guy followed me around. We're in Oklahoma right now, and so we actually had 2 of these. So this is the exact same thing that's here on the gun, minus the rangefinder. And my camera guy actually videoed me hunting hogs and coyotes with the BOLT TX60C. While I was shooting with it. So the footage that you're seeing of me in thermal is shot through this actual scope. It wasn't on a gun. He just used it on a tripod, not mounted on a gun. And then the footage you see shooting of the hogs and the coyotes is actually through the scope here. It's also, I forgot to mention before, it's a base magnification of 3. So it's going to give you fantastic range. So if you zoom, which this knob right here, all you have to do if you want more magnification is just turn this a little bit and it just starts zooming. It doesn't go into a menu. There's no buttons to find in the dark. It's literally just start doing this and it will zoom in. The nice thing about being 1024 is that you can zoom a long ways before you start getting a blob and it's not clear. So for example, doubling the magnification to 6 power, which is a ton in a thermal, drops you down to like, what is that, 512? So you're still like insane. The detail you can see at distance with this is sort of just mind-blowing. I was using a 640 sensor handheld and then would switch back to this and it was just like, holy smokes. So last night, I don't miss super often with rifles, but last night I missed a coyote at Like, we figured it out, it was about 250 yards after I missed, but because of how clear and crisp the coyote looked in the thermal, I assumed he was at like 110 yards. I should have ranged it. I just looked through the thing, and based on what I'm used to seeing through a thermal, I thought, whoa, look how crisp and he is, look how much detail I can see. He's like 100 yards away. Missed, and it turned out he was like 250, which that's enough to miss. So the image is nuts. I should point out as well that as an industry first for this 1024 by 1024, I want to say the closest competitor is like 1024 by 700, 720 or something like that. I mean, this is like 30% more pixels. It makes a difference when you're using the scope. It does have picture-in-picture. It has 128 gigabytes of storage space, so you can just sit and film and film and film. It shows you when it's recording. You long press the record button. I found the menus to be relatively easy to use. First thing we did yesterday is took it to the range, zeroed it up, shot steel out to about 350 yards, went 1 for 1 on steel out to that distance, and then we went hunting. I made a mistake in the dark. This is a Seekins Havoc Element. It's like a 5.5 pound gun and 6.5 PRC, a lot of recoil. It's actually hard to shoot off of a tripod standing. And we saw some pigs, went out to go put a stock on them, and I put a round in the chamber, or thought I did. Mag wasn't all the way in, so I didn't actually get a round chamber. We did a 3, 2, 1 countdown. I actually did the countdown, and then it was a big old click, and I didn't get to shoot a hog on the first stock we did. Luckily, though, we got in on another group of hogs. Shot one of them in the face. You'll see that video here as we talk about it. That 6.5 PRC out of the Seekins Havoc Element just hammered that hog, put him down, and then I had 3 total rounds in the gun, so I had 2 more shots, picked out another hog, a big one that was running, and ended up being a 250 yard shot. We ranged it later, but hit him a couple times, had to do a reload from my pocket, reload the gun, shot him one more time. At 250 yards, I mean, you can watch this hog spin around, turn around, and what you're seeing in the video is not anywhere close to what I could see through the scope. So what you're seeing through the scope in person is always going to be better. Like I said before, you got your adjustment for focus out here. It's intuitive, it's big, it's easy to feel even with gloves on. You set your display, your reticle for your own eye, just like a regular scope diopter up here. Didn't have any problems with it coming loose. You can use whatever mounts you want. 30 millimeters, one piece scope tubes. It's a traditional looking scope. I like this just for the fact that it is not going to draw attention. It looks like a traditional scope. So there's a lot of people that might see you in the field with this and they would never even know you had a thermal. The only real negative that I have to speak about on this is I don't like the rangefinder mount. Now, it doesn't come with it. You can get your own. You could put a diving board on top of a ring, mount it up there. It's going to be way better. But this has a tendency to get bumped and bump the rangefinder off. I bumped it a few times to the point it wasn't pointed where it was supposed to, and it just didn't work for me last night. I ended up using the rangefinder and the handheld. Battery life on this was nuts. We hunted all night last night. I never once put it in standby mode. I would shut it off when we were in the truck. The batteries, it's got 2 of them. So it's got an internal battery that lasts somewhere around 5 hours, and then it's got an external 18650 battery. You can pop it out, charge it up, and that's going to last 3.5 hours depending on how you use it. If you put this in standby mode, which I never did a single time, it does come out of it instantly though. So you put it in standby, it saves your battery, you hit the power button once, and it's just instantly back on, ready to use. So pretty impressive set of features from that perspective. So the detection range, that's something that gets thrown around a lot. Everybody advertises the detection range. Nobody really knows what they're talking about. You know, I mean, you can take a pretty cheap thermal and see a jet in the sky at, 30,000 feet. And so, I mean, who knows what detection range is. This is advertised at 2,700. Last night we did a little coyote calling, and we were seeing coyotes at well over a mile, and you could tell they were coyotes. I mean, this isn't like a white dot that you're like, there's something there. This isn't like you're like, oh, that's a cow. Like 1,700 to 2,000 yards, and we can tell they're coyotes running around out there, no problem. You can definitely tell the difference between a cow and a deer at those distances. Really, really impressive. I also want to mention that we actually not only is this capable of shooting far because of the ability to zoom in and see, but it's got a really decent field of view for being 3-power. Had a coyote come in, we were looking at a couple different coyotes back and forth, didn't know which one was going to come in first, and then we had a hard charger just come right in on us, and he started coming right into our wind, downwind, and I knew he was going to pick up our wind any second, so I basically had to just swing on him and shoot him moving, and he was at like 45, 50 yards away. You can see the video, no problem whatsoever getting him shot with this 3-power base magnification. So this is going to work great from a tree stand over a hog feeder, shooting coyotes. This is kind of it. This is where it's at. MSRP is $69.99. That's retail. That's what InfiRay USA is advertising this as. Now let's talk about that for a second. I mentioned to you before that this is an InfiRay outdoor product, and that's who the manufacturer is. InfiRay USA is the importer, they're the servicer, they do the warranty work, and they have possibly the best warranty in the entire industry for electronic sighting devices is what we'll call this. So it's 5 years, and they have a 5-day turnaround time. So if this was to fail on you, you send it in, within 5 days they will either replace it or have it repaired. We actually had a chance to tour their shop, their factory, their repair center, and they have parts in stock. They have warranty models in stock should anything go wrong with these. Now, these are made to be robust. It's waterproof, IP67. It's shockproof up to 7 mag. I ran it exclusively on this super light 5.5 pound 6.5 PRC. We're shooting 143 grain Hornady ELDXs all night. There's a lot of recoil in a gun that light, so had no problem handling that. Zero stayed on. Overall, I am super duper impressed with this. If I could nitpick it, once again, I don't like the rangefinder mount. I think that InfiRay should design something better, or they should do an internal laser rangefinder. But you know what, that's not what the scope is. That's just me being nitpicky. Overall, from the scope perspective though, like, I got nothing else negative to say about it. Battery life's fantastic. This is the best image I've ever looked through on a thermal. Bar none. In fact, I think that it's probably even better than the original 1280 that was like $17,000 that InfiRay came out with like 3 years ago. And the reason I think that is because that was a 2-power magnification, and by the time you zoom in to 4, you're only at 640. This starts out at 3-power at 1020, and it is just newer technology. The hertz is 50 hertz, so it's a much faster frame rate. You see no lag. It's just overall a better optic in my opinion. So this is the one to beat. This is, if you want the best, this is the one to get. The crazy thing is this is not the most expensive thermal in the industry. So you certainly can go spend more money than this, but you're not, I actually don't think you're going to get anything better. So go check it out. InfiRay USA would be the website if you want to learn more about the new BOLT TX60C. Oh, I should have said as well, you can digitally zoom up to 16. Base power of 3, that's where you get the most pixels, but you can zoom all the way to 16, and it is usable all the way to that magnification. I mean, it's obviously you're zooming in on pixels a little bit, but it is not like a blob. You actually can see some detail. So go check it out. Appreciate you guys watching. Leave us a comment, like, subscribe, share. Tell us what you think about this, whether this is something you'd consider purchasing. I'm impressed after having hunted with it. So appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next time.